To celebrate Enshrouded's most recent update, our team hosted an Ask Me Anything session on Reddit. Here is a somewhat of a short recap. Are there any plans for angled voxels and other varied blocks to let player build more intricate bases?
Well, this can be tricky from the technical side of things and also the perspective of the user interface, but we do like the idea. Our goal is to keep improving our building system with time so that our players can create even crazier builds, so I promise we'll discuss this more in the future.
Will we be able to rotate build props in full 3D eventually?
This isn't currently planned because of the complexity of the controls and interface elements involved, but we will think about it. A big part of the challenge with this is considering all the different languages and layouts our players use, while also accounting for both keyboards and controller. This can make it difficult to account for every kind of player, especially when Enshrouded has so many complex features and functions that we have to keep track of.
Can we expect a rework of the skill tree for the melee side? It feels like it needs some love.
Class balancing is something we're always working on, including improvements to the combat systems and melee builds. There's no current ETA on the changes, but I promise we're not forgetting about you.
Can multi-shot please affect all arrows?
Whenever multi-shot triggers, it also consumes extra arrows in the process. So because of this, we remove special arrows from the multi-shot pool to stop players from losing them too quickly. But in the future, we do plan to add more skills to multi-shot that bring those special arrows back.
Are there any plans to increase the max level and make the skill tree larger?
Absolutely. The skill tree and level cap will expand with time. As the game continues to grow and expand with future updates, your Flameborn will too.
Why did you decide a voxel-based world would work with the game? It's honestly the main selling point for me.
For us, the creative aspect of building a base was essential for our game, as well as allowing players a lot of freedom to explore the world. So it was important from the beginning to create a game on the technical foundation of our voxel engine. Luckily, our team already had a lot of experience working on our last game, Portal Knights, which was also voxel-based.
Other than building, there's very little to do after completing all the quests. How do you plan to address replayability?
First off, I need to preface this with a big caveat. Most of the things I'm talking about are plans for the future. That means end of early access or later. But having said that, here are some of the ideas we've been toying with. World events, instance dungeons, server gameplay settings, adding more biomes and expanding the world, as well as base sharing and user-generated content.
Have you planned an end game where we get a shroud-free world full of life again? I'd really love to reach a stage where the shroud doesn't come back and my mission is accomplished.
Replayability is a big priority for us, so currently we don't plan on having a permanent end state for the game world. But on the other hand, we see that a lot of players have been having fun rebuilding the ruins of Embervale, so that's something we have been thinking about for the future.
I would love to see some base invasions. Having to build a defensible bases adds a sense of urgency and danger which would be motivating.
This suggestion is very popular, but it is challenging to design in a game like Enshrouded. We need to find a way to make it fun and interesting without making it too frustrating or easy to cheese. We like the idea, but we do need to think more about it.
Do you have any plans for creative mode for free building? Also, thoughts on free camera?
Longer term, we can imagine adding an actual creative mode like we did in Portal Knights, but it's not currently on our roadmap. Nobody's asking for free cam harder than our video producer who makes these videos, so it's a maybe.
What's your stance on modding and Enshrouded in the future?
We love to see players already investing so much effort to create mods for our game, but because Enshrouded is built on a custom engine, it would be a big undertaking to implement full custom mod support at this time. At the current stage of development, our main priority is on implementing features within the game itself to foster player creativity, rather than expecting players to deal with the effort of creating and installing mods.
Are there any plans for a looking for group feature or a lobby or a chat to find groups?
There's a lot of other multiplayer systems we should probably focus on first, but you can always stop by our Discord server to find others to join. We will consider adding more options in the future.
After the fix to the unlimited flight, do you have any plans for endgame flight? I love just flying over the world you've created.
We think our current highest level glider is already powerful, and we don't want to go for unlimited flight too quickly in the game's development, but we are thinking of other fun ways to mess with your glider in the future.
Do you have any plans to add more loot so we can get some variety and some rewarding loot? We are hoping to find cool stuff in the hollow holes.
Well, the hollow holes do actually feature a new and unique type of weapon that we call Sacred. These generally have a longer range to better handle big groups of enemies, kinda like the ones you'd find in hollow holes.
Are there any plans to add more weapon archetypes such as dual wielding and whatnot? I would do anything to be able to use the two-handled scythe that some enemies use in the hollow holes.
Definitely, we're always cooking up ideas for new weapons, and I think you'll be very excited with one of the things we have coming for Update 2. More weapon types are always on the to-do list, but something else is coming first. And as for the walking toggle, it's a nice idea. We're gonna look into it.
Can you tell us how many NPC crouchers will be in the game?
We haven't decided yet on just how many there will be, but we can already say we have plenty of ideas for different NPC roles. Expect your bases to get a lot more crowded in the future.
What's your vision for NPCs? Will we be able to make towns alive again and assign jobs to NPCs?
Townsfolk NPCs are already on the current roadmap. We know many of you are hoping to breathe new life into your bases, and we hope to improve NPC interactions more in the future, so stay tuned for that in a future update.
Can I please get a pause for single player?
In Enshrouded, there's always a server running in the background to simulate the game and its world, even when playing in single player, so that means that you can't really pause the game properly at the moment. We're discussing internally to see if we can potentially add that in the future.
Is there an ETA on a bloom toggle in the graphic settings? Getting from dark to light areas can be painful for some with sensitive eyesight.
We've heard you guys loud and clear on this, and we want to improve post-processing in general. Because this has an impact on some of our assets though, especially our visual effects, it will take some time until we have additional improvements.
Do you have an update on individual quest progression?
World progression versus personal progression is currently something we have tentatively scheduled for the next update. We've been a bit taken aback by how common this request was, because we hadn't realized just how many of you would want to hang out in your world exploring and questing, even when your friends weren't around. To us, this is a testament to just how immersive Enshrouded can be in a fun sort of, here's a new thing that nobody thought would actually be a problem sort of way. Anyway, we'll take care of it.
Are there going to be more missions added in the near future?
With every new update, we plan to add not only new bug fixes and improvements, but also much more content. This usually, but maybe not always, will mean new quests, and more things to do. From time to time, we will add a new part to the world like a new biome, and this will include new enemies, new quests, and much, much more.
What are the next steps for Steam Deck support?
The Steam Deck version still needs more optimization to earn its Steam Deck certified sticker, but we're still currently working on it.
Can you speak to the thinking behind turning all the water into the Shroud stuff? Are there engine limitations with liquids, or is it going to play an important role in the lore?
Simulating liquids in a realistic manner is extremely complex, even in games where the world is static and can't be modified. So if you add the possibility of changing the terrain around that liquid, and even worse, changing it in real time with volumetric voxel-based worlds, the problem becomes orders of magnitude more complex and not to mention more demanding in resources. It was clear that we wouldn't be able to include water into our early access version of Enshrouded, but we wanted to have natural barriers within the Shroud, so we designed our lore around that. We love the idea of having water and heard the call from the community, so we want to make it work, but it's still a technical research topic for us. In terms of lore, we can imagine that regions above the Shroud would leave bodies of water untouched, so it still makes sense.
Will we see the map slowly expand in small updates during early access, or will it all become available at once when the game launches fully?
This will come over time with our major updates, usually in the form of new biomes or extensions to existing biomes as development progresses during early access. To manage expectations, it's going to take us several months before we're able to release our first full map expansion.
It would be nice if the changes the player makes to the world could be saved. Will this happen?
Currently, we don't have plans to remove the world resets outside of player bases, because saving all those changes would have a significant impact on the performance and stability of the game, and we need to be mindful of that.
We know the map will expand northwards, but are there plans for vertical expansions of the map? I wonder if there's a chance to see sky islands or even depths like an underworld, full of shroud and darkness that's super dangerous but rewarding and cool looking.
Well, I won't give any spoilers, but some of our more savvy players might have noticed that our map now is over a full kilometer taller than it was in the closed beta, for reasons.
Is there an approximate date for the next map portion release?
Our current goal is for our next major update to release with a smaller sub-biome that will add more variety and new content to an already existing one. For the next full-size biome, we're looking further out than that, probably several months at least, as it needs a lot more content to come with it. We hope you guys have found this recap interesting, and we've answered even more questions in the AMA itself, which you can find on our subreddit and in the link in the description. We hope you're as excited about the future of Enshrouded as we are, and we can't wait to show you what's next. Until then, take care and fly safe.